and say his name 5 times, he'll appear behind you, breathing down your neck.
Close your eyes and count to 7. When you wake, you'll be in heaven.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, I forgot to say happy St. Patrick's Day, too.
Happy Green Day.
I've got
Yes.
my green on, even though you can't see it past the green screen.
Uh-oh. I don't think I have green on.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh.
I'm safe at home, though.
Well, why don't you ladies go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your channel and what you do over there.
You can go first, Brandy.
Oh, that's all right. I'm Brandy, of course, from Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. We have, a fantastic show over there. We talk about everything that's weird. That encompasses anything from Bigfoot, aliens, cryptids, you name it. If it's weird, we talk about it, and we love it.
Yep. We do a lot of, I'm Krista, by the way. And we do a lot of, on our Thursday nights, we have guests. Those are our guest shows. And then Friday nights, you never know who might pop in or could just be Brandy and I, and we just pick a subject and talk about it. So.
Yeah, I seen the interesting title you had the other night about the chickens.
Oh, yeah. That was actually a joke for Jason McLean. He's a good friend, and I asked him, he was supposed to be filling in for me, but he ended up filling in for Brandy with the storms going through. And I was like, what do you want to talk about? He said, chickens. Why we let them cross the road? I'm like, okay, that's what we'll name the show.
They had no idea what they were going to talk about, but with Jason McLean, it could lead up, from giants to dinosaurs. We don't know what we're going to end up talking about with him.
Sometimes those are the best ones. Just let it go and see what comes up.
Right. That was it, pretty much.
Usually when I have guests on, it always ends up talking about food for some reason. I don't know why, but
that at times too.
Well, I like to eat. It's a thing, and you start talking about food and it just starts rolling, and that's what happens. Got to talk about it.
We spent 45 minutes one night on Bigfoot Michigan Rod's show talking about the difference between Hellman's mayonnaise and Duke's mayonnaise. So what does that tell you? Yeah. So it was funny.
Well, I guess we can get on a subject of everybody's favorite is, Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of you had encounters with a Bigfoot or a sighting of one? We
were together. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did.
I've had 2 sightings, but I mean the first one that I had seen, Krista wasn't with me, and darn it, I wish she was. But the first sighting, it was off at a distance, and it was at nighttime, and it was very interesting to see. But I still kind of second guessed myself, going, "Was that Bigfoot? I mean, was it really?" I kept kind of doing that. And then Krista and I took a trip, and let Krista start because the story really starts with her.
Yeah. Okay. So that evening, it was actually a conference we went to, and it was in southern Missouri. And that evening, there was a camp out. Well, we had been there for a few days, and it was on private property, and it was actually out there looking for Bigfoot. And so that evening, an awful storm came through. I mean, it was really, really bad. I filmed it, like people's tents were blowing away. It was awful. So after that, things kind of calmed down a little bit. A lot of people went to bed after they got camp fixed up. And there was 4 of us, Brandy and I, and 2 guys were sitting up around the fire, and everybody kind of got tired. So it was, I don't know, it was probably 2:30, 2:45, I would say, when we all went in and went to bed. So as I had said, the rain had came through, and which made the whole bottom of the tent wet. So Brandy's like, I'm not sleeping on wetness. I'm sleeping in my car. So Brandy went to her car, and I went into the tent. And I have a cot in there, and there was another gal there with us. And I was laying there, and I always play by games before I go to sleep. Well, let me back up. So before I went in the tent, I tell everybody, because I know I did. I mooned Bigfoot because I had to use the restroom, and I just went behind the tent, squatted. Well, come to find out, we found out the Bigfoot had been back there watching at some point. So I tell everybody I mooned Bigfoot, and I really did. So anyway, worked my way back into the tent, and I was laying there on my phone playing, and so I finally put my phone down, and I heard something like come up from behind where our tent was. There's a wet weather creek that kind of run behind there, and we could hear something coming up behind it. And I'm like, my head's laying down there, and it sounded like it was like 5 feet from behind my tent, from behind my head. So I kind of freaked out, and I sat up. And this is where I saw. So after the rain though came through, the skies cleared up, and the moon was bright that night. And I saw a shadow of something, probably from the shoulder up, of some kind of creature. It looked like a Bigfoot to me, and that's the only way that we can explain it. And nobody else was out and around camp or any of that. But at that time, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared. I was a lot scared, actually. I wasn't gonna go out there or anything and investigate. We just sat there and listened to it go around our camp. So finally we heard it walk away, and then this is where Brandy comes in.
Right. So we were like she had said, we had been out there for a couple days. We were, it was the final night. We were super exhausted. This little rainstorm turned into, quite the storm, tearing up everything, like she said. So by the time I got in my car, it had cooled down significantly, because we were kind of in this valley. And, and it was like there's trees all around it, and it was just damp and cool in there. So I had this sleeping bag. So I just sat in the driver's side of my car, and I just leaned the seat back and pulled the covers over my face, because, it was going to be light in a couple of hours. So I'm thinking I'm not going to get a whole lot of sleep anyway. There's no use in trying to get super comfortable. So otherwise I would have climbed in the back. So I'm laying there, and then I was so exhausted, I went to sleep. But all of a sudden, I'm laying there, and I hear kind of like a tapping on the front of my car. And I didn't pay any attention. I'm thinking raindrops, dewdrops, who knows what it is. I'm not really paying attention to it. And then I start hearing footsteps. And I'm like, all right, one of the girls have gotten out of the tent and decided they were going to use the restroom. Now, we always have this thing, none of the ladies get out of their tent and go to the restroom without anybody out there. That's just one thing we just don't do, just for safety reasons. So I slowly lean up, and I'm looking straight at the tent. Now, my car is parked right next to the tent, probably about 4 or 5 foot back from the tent, just enough that where you could walk through to get into the tent. But I'm back a little bit on the side, and I'm looking at the tent, and I'm groggy. And then all of a sudden I'm noticing, hey, there's no lights on. Usually they'll have a flashlight or their camera light, or, on their phone, something. I didn't see any lights. The zipper wasn't even undone on the tent. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's someone else. I don't know. So I'm kind of scanning from when I'm looking at the tent, and I'm scanning over towards the passenger side window, and I look out, and I see I thought it was somebody at first standing like kitty corner on the back of the tent. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's too big. We're in bear country. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a bear. I'm just, I'm getting ready to figure out what I'm going to do here if this is a bear. Unfortunately, everything that I had was in the back seat to make sure the bears didn't come. But everything I had was in the back seat. I was actually laying on it. And so I'm like, okay. And then as I got to looking at it, this thing was huge. It was probably, I want to say 2.5 to 3 feet wide in the chest area, and it had shoulders. Bears don't have shoulders.
Yeah.
So that's when it started to click in at me. And it was like almost to the top of the tent that was that they were standing behind. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't believe what I'm looking at. I'm trying to grasp what I'm looking at because this thing is only like 20 feet from my car and it's standing there and it's kind of doing the little sway that everybody talks about, and it like when it would come to the corner, it kind of sway a little bit more and then it'd sway a little bit back this way. And it kept doing that. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is Bigfoot. And it is so large that I realized at that moment that being in my car was not a safety thing at all. I did not feel safe. This thing was 20 feet from me, and I realized that this thing could have come, smashed out my window, ripped me out of the car before anybody could have gotten out of the tent, and I'd have been gone. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Now, I didn't know if this thing was walking around my car and seen me. Maybe that's my guess because, when it's cold, and now this is the thing that I do when it's cold weather, I will stick my face in my sleeping bag. I will breathe in my sleeping bag. It keeps me warmer. And, it's just what I know to do without turning my car on. So when I woke up, I kind of leaned up, but this thing was over here, but I'd heard it walking around my car. I'm like, maybe it seen me, maybe it didn't, but I didn't want to take a chance on startling it because I didn't know what it would do from there. Now, there were a few people in camp. So if this thing got scared or decided to go on a rampage, who knows what it was going to decide to do, but I wasn't going to send it there. I could have beat my horn, turned on my lights. I could have done a lot of things. But instead, what I said to myself is, you know what? I don't want this thing coming over to me. It's too close as it is. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of curl myself back up the way I was and, just kind of lay back in my seat and listen for it. Now, I listened and it kind of, you could hear it walking away from where I was on, the passenger side. You could hear it walking. And because there was kind of high grass behind the tents right there in that tree line. And there was high grass. So you could hear it kind of going through there. And then as soon as I couldn't hear it anymore, it's like it was an adrenaline dump. It was just like I passed out. It was over. I listened to it as long as I could, and then it was gone. Because I'm like, if I pick up my phone, which my phone was next to me, my light comes on my phone as soon as I pick it up. I couldn't do anything with it right then. And so I was like, well, okay. So I just kind of laid myself back down. And after a while, I did fall asleep. And the next morning, I woke up, and as I'm getting out of my car, everybody's like, whoa, 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 wait. We had a visitor. And I said, I know. I saw it.
Oh, wow.
So this is how it all began, which we were in, I guess, the right spot at the right time. We had expert trackers with us. We had Bigfoot journalists with us. We had all kinds of investigators with us, and they actually tracked where this thing came into camp, went around the tent Krista was in, around my car, and then it moved across and around the whole entire camp till it went out.
And what was really cool too is that so when it was around our tent, it was 3:12. We looked at the clock. It was 3:12, and others that were down, there was probably 6 or 7 tents on down where it walked through. And a lot of those people were awake and heard it also. And they looked at their clocks. So another one was just like a few minutes later. Like it all added up. It was incredible.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
And then we also got the trackers that she was talking about. They got 14-inch impressions right behind where my head was laying in the tent. Like you got the whole trackway. Yeah. You see where they all went through our whole camp, and 14-inch impressions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it does put a different perspective when you're thinking you're going to be safe in your car. You're not.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that glass isn't that strong.
No.
Well, cars are not that strong anymore either.
Right.
For that matter.
Well, here's the thing too, like honestly, I believe it could have hurt me very easily in that tent. Like, it didn't want to. So I don't like believe it was there to hurt anything. I think it was just curious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was trying to figure out, because the perfect storm did roll in, this thing, and there may have been others where, there's still little theory that there may have been others. But they'd been there watching us for days.
Mm-hmm.
A few days earlier, one of the ladies was with her husband who was camping out there, and she started describing what she saw, which her husband called her crazy, but she started describing it, and I finished describing it for her. And she says, "That's it. That's exactly what I saw." And I said, "That's what I saw." So, it'd been watching for a couple days.
Yeah. And where she had saw it was right by the outdoor shower.
Oh.
So yeah, it was, wasn't a stupid Bigfoot.
Right? Just hanging out in there,
Right.
And then, I mean, when I woke up that morning, it was like 6:15. So if this is happening at the 3:00-ish hour, I didn't have that much sleep. It was just enough for my body to say, okay, you can wake up now and let's go to it. And I mean, the moment that I stepped out of my car, everybody was up and documenting all of the stuff. I mean, we have videos, and we have aerial views of it from drones. We have all kinds of stuff that happened within that camp. And it was just simply amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. And that was like a full on, and before that, Brandy and we've done a lot of investigating at the Land Between the Lakes too. And, we've had weird things happen to us out there, not an actual full on sighting though. So it was a really cool moment.
You mentioned something about the shoulders. Because bears, they don't, it's straight down. And that's the thing that gets me is, it was a bear. And if you see an outline like that, it's you're definitely not a bear.
Right.
And
right.
I hear that, if somebody says, oh, I seen a figure over there, a hairy figure, it was probably a bear standing up.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing, like, if somebody says that, like, please don't insult my intelligence. People know the difference know what a bear is, I fully believe that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I thought it was a person at first glance, I'm thinking, God, that is, it has a humanoid stance to it, but then you get to looking at the size and you're like, there's no way. There's no way. And like I said, the shoulders and the arms, and I'm like, okay. Now, like what Krista said about the moonlight coming down, where she could see the shadow of it coming across the back of her tent. Now, when I saw it, the moonlight was hitting the back of it, so I couldn't see any features. I didn't have my, I wear glasses. I didn't have my glasses on at the time. And like I said, I couldn't see any fine features on it, but the sheer size of it, and it was definitely darker in color. It wasn't, I couldn't say if it was black or dark brown, but I can definitely see that it was dark in color. But I'll tell you what, that just made my first experience click in and go, I know what I saw now. because sometimes you think that the moonlight will play tricks on you, that sometimes you might be seeing things, even though I had our friend Tech standing next to me on my first experience, my first sighting. And I said to him, hey, is that what I think it is? And he said, yep. Because normally he would, try to pull my leg and try and tell me some long story about, something. He likes to kid with me on that. But he said, yep. And I went, okay, then. Okay. And the way that I saw it walk, it was very smooth. Because we were up in the woods, and this thing just kind of, it was like it floated, kind of. It didn't make a sound, but you could see it walking in and out of the trees, going back through where we were watching it. And it was just like, wow. Wow, no wonder you can't find these things. You can't even hear them if they don't want you to. They're like well, not little, big ninjas out there, just being like this super quiet walk that they have. And it was smooth. And I was like, Tex and I say it was kind of like a dancer would float smooth. And this was like that. It was smooth walking. There was not any weird walking like you would see humans walking, like we would bounce a little bit when we'd walk. This didn't do that. It was just kind of like a smooth straight across, which I found fascinating. And then, like I said, when Krista and I had our close encounter visual, that just kind of locked everything in that I saw and went, okay, so that first one is absolutely what I thought.
Yeah. Well, you would think that unless they're vegetarian, that they would hunt animals to eat and whatnot. You would figure, because they don't have bows and guns and stuff to go hunting, so they'd have to be able to be quiet and go through a forest without spooking everything.
Agree.
Yeah. And if they were noisy, everybody would be seeing them.
Yep.
Well, that's true. That's true. That same night was very interesting too, because we believe what we got, it was a bluff charge. Not even a bluff charge. I think it was chasing a meal. And we're walking down from this one high point that we were at, and we're coming down. The next thing you know, you could hear this thing running. And this was on the Texas-Oklahoma border. So, hogs come into play, and a lot of other animals come into play that we don't necessarily have in our area in Missouri. But I know what they sound like when they're coming. You've got to know. So, we're sitting there listening to this, and they're hearing something, and it's just coming and coming and coming. And then you're like, wait, that's 2 legs. That's not running on 4 legs. That's 2 legs. And it's running through this thick brush that it was making the sound. And, the next thing you know, this big armadillo comes running straight out at us, just right out at us. Right. And then it cuts and turns down this trail. So we kind of breathe for a second going, oh my God, we're all scared of an armadillo. We're scared of an armadillo. This, how stupid are we? And we start laughing. And the next thing you know, you hear this thing start running off in the other direction, running away.
Yeah.
Now, I know armadillos are pretty much blind, but they can hear us and they could see the flashlight. You know what I mean? Yeah. They wouldn't come near us at all. They would stay away from us. That's just what they do. They're not going to come running up to you. But I think at that point, it was taking its chances with us.
Yeah.
From whatever was chasing it,
I would have ran from it too if it was chasing me.
Yeah, right. And I was just thinking, well, okay. And it was a scary thought. I mean, it could have been anything. And I'm not saying that it was a bluff charge. I'm not saying that it was chasing food, but it definitely sounded like something bipedal, and it was coming our way. It didn't sound like, because a hog, you can hear a hog coming from a long way away, and and there's coyotes and stuff out there, but it like I said, it sounded like 2 feet, 2 feet. Not 4 legs, not 4 paws.
Yeah. you can tell the difference from
Yes.
somebody running and an animal running.
Oh yeah,
It's plain as day,
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unless you grew up in the city all the time. So
Oh, yeah.
everything sounds the same, I guess.
Right. It sounds like horns and sirens, right?
Right?
What it sounds like to me in the city. I have to get out. I can only
Oh,
tolerate it for so long.
yeah.
Mhm.
Have you done anything with, ghost hunting or anything like that? Going into old buildings and stuff and
Oh
see
yeah.
if you.
That was actually the ghost is actually how we got into all this weird stuff. I've done the ghost for many, many years, and honestly, it got to the point where ghosts, like, they bore me now. Like, I don't mind going in and doing, like, a ghost hunt to help someone, or we do them at private locations and stuff. And we have, our team has large locations that we do overnight ghost hunts for people and stuff. I don't mind doing those, but I don't get scared anymore. I don't have that adrenaline rush like I used to. So that's kind of like how we, honestly, Brandy, how we kind of got into the cryptid side of things, isn't it? Like,
Well, kind of. See, I'm still a paranormal girl. I love that stuff
I
too.
still like the paranormal, but it just,
It's
it's the cryptid. My adrenaline rush is back.
right, but I like going to the places where they say, "Oh, this is the most haunted place in America," and I'm like, "Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay." Well, see, I'm from Missouri, and that's the show me state, so you're going to have to show me that this is the most haunted place in America. So I've been to quite a few of the larger, most well-known places that they talk about. I mean, I still have probably a gazillion on my bucket list, but there's something different about cryptids.
Mhm.
It's different. Because I can go into a haunted location and literally fall asleep in a corner for like 20 minutes to get a power nap.
Right.
I can do
Yeah.
that. But if sometimes if activity is happening out in the woods and things like that, there's no sleeping.
Mm-mm.
There's no way that
Yeah.
you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I love it all, actually. I love it all.
We love going to places where we can get all of it. And,
Yes.
That's why we went to Land Between the Lakes so many times, because we have had, paranormal encounters, and we've had, like, we personally didn't see anything there, but we've had friends there who actually saw things while we were there. They were out on their own. And, our team now, we have exclusive rights to the Emmaus Village in Marthasville, Missouri. And the first time that Brandy and I and another friend, Terry, were there, we were just ghost hunting, and we were chit-chatting, and Terry was running a recorder, and with our ears, we heard a howl. And so let me back up just a second. Within, I would say, 2 miles from there is a road, what I call Dogman Road. And because I had heard about a Dogman encounter there. And so I just kind of nicknamed it over the years, and I call it Dogman Road. Anyway, so we heard this howl that night, and we heard it with our ears. And Terry actually captured it on recorder. So, doing this, we have lots of friends who are into the Bigfoot world and who go out all the time and are much more versed than Brandy and I in sounds and things like that. So I sent it to Joe and Jesse Doyle from Hellbent and Holler, and I also sent it to Charlie Raymond just last week. And they all got back and said that Joe and Jesse said that it's definitely nothing native to Missouri, and that, it had a good pair of lungs. And Charlie Raymond said that it sounds like what the Bigfoots that he's used to hearing, the same sounds. So that was pretty cool.
Ooh,
So,
cool.
so we have we're looking forward to it in May. We have a team, I guess, cryptid hunt, what you would want to call it, to go out there and not really
Investigate. We're going to go research,
Right.
investigate. Well, actually, we're just going to go see if there's anything that resembles a cryptid activity out there, basically, is what we're going to go do.
Yeah. So it was really cool. And then, 2 weeks ago I was there, and we heard a owl And I know everybody says, oh, owls are, you hear them all the time, but this sounded like a human owl. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't your normal hoot owl. And so that really sparked our interest, so people from the team, were kind of looking on that side of things too. So it's just a really, really cool location. And I look forward to investigating that side of things more.
That's cool. The issue I ran into when I was really into it, because I've got all the gear and I still have it in my packed away and stuff. You always get the person that they find something every investigation. Oh, I heard this, and there's somebody up here, and I heard this voice, and no matter what, and it kind of gets old, because I like when doing these, when you get the goosebumps that stick up on your arm, that kind of feeling. And when somebody's, oh, I heard that, or something touched me, or, it's like some of the shows that they have on nowadays is every time they go out, they find stuff.
Right. But then they find nothing.
Right. And it's
I'm just saying.
Like people that watch these TV shows, they don't realize like how long that you can actually sit in a room and nothing happen. You can sit there all night and nothing happen. And that's very common. So you might hear hear something here and there, but it's not like action packed like they show on the TV shows at all.
It's like watching paint dry most of the time, That's why it's you got to have good company. You just got to have good company when you go.
Yeah, there's this old graveyard. It's not too far from here. And there's a story behind it. Mary Stockham, and I had went out there with some people, and we basically didn't see anything or hear anything. And I actually went with my kids. Only a couple of them got out. The other one stayed in the truck. And I had set a recorder down on what everybody said was her grave, or what was left of her grave. And we walked around the graveyard and just trying to find something. And my son is autistic. So when he was out there, he was feeling stuff, and I tried to get him to talk and stuff, but he wouldn't want to talk. And so I was asking questions and stuff. I still don't know what it was. I'd have to go back and look, but I still have the recording and everything. And asked the question, and at the time I didn't know, I didn't hear the thump, but there was a thump from under the ground, hit the gravestone, and made a thump noise. And at the same time, my older son's girlfriend was with him, and she said something grabbed her at the exact same time, just right after that. And by then, everybody's wanting to go.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Well, Mickey
home.
Mickey, who's in chat, her son has autism also, and he came and investigated with us one time. And I'm telling you what, that kid had so much fun. He just had a blast. I couldn't have seen anybody have more fun in my life, I think.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. But something like that, when that happens, and you're not, expecting that to happen, you think you're just out there and it's just going to be all quiet. And then something like that happens. I could see where your children would have wanted to leave.
Yeah. And we actually
Thank you.
Thanks, PMR.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. But cemeteries, I don't mind cemeteries. there's one at the Land Between the Lakes that whenever Brandy and I do go there, we go there. There's 237 cemeteries at Land Between the Lakes, actually. And there's one in particular, it was broad daylight, and we're just out there kind of exploring. We weren't even, I mean, she had a recorder running, but it wasn't anything heavy ghost hunting or anything.
No.
And that night, we got back to camp, and Brandy started listening to it, and we got EVPs of a door shutting. We're the only ones out there in the middle of the woods. There's no other doors. There's no doors, you know? So go figure. It's been pretty incredible.
Yeah. That was the weird thing is when I went home and started listening to it, I'm like, what was that big bang?
Yeah.
And then heard the scream right after that. And I'm like, and you could hear the boom come from underneath, and nobody heard the bang until we played it on the recorder.
Yeah. And this particular cemetery too, another time we were there, we were actually filming Land Between the Lakes Cryptic Expeditions with Greg Ogles. And we were there with Greg and Adam Davies. And at that cemetery, we started seeing orbs in the woods. And Greg captured them, and they're actually on the video. But it's just, you know, what that is, I have no idea. I don't know. Because we've seen orbs several times in the middle of the woods. We've even seen them where there wasn't even a cemetery around. We were the only ones in the middle of winter out there, and nobody else was around. You know, so what was it? What are they? I don't know.
Yeah, because there's so much history. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but there's so much history out there. There's even what they call the town of Birmingham, which is out there in the Land Between the Lakes. And when it used to be called Land Between the Rivers, but then they filled it up with water to become lakes. But they evacuated, you know, or made everybody move out of the town of Birmingham. But the cemeteries were, you know, if family were there, they moved the bodies of their loved ones if the family were there. But if there wasn't any family there, they just left them where they were. So there are at low tide, usually during the winter, you know, they have some of the headstones are sticking up out of the water. You can take a boat out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a really, really interesting place to go and visit. And like I said, we've had friends who had, we were actually there, and this all happened in one evening. I kid you not. Brandy and I we stayed in camp. Why we decided to out of all nights, but we stayed in camp that night. And some of the girls went one way, and then it was actually Gabby and Elijah Henderson went with another guy, a war criminal, and they went another way. And the girls all saw what they could describe as a miniature Mothman. And then they come back to camp, and they were talking about that. And then the other group came back, and they saw a dog man on all fours crossing the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So...
But this night was very unusual. And let me just start by saying we were at camp, and there was a few of us that were at camp. Now, we were looking at the moon, and it was a full moon, and it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It was a nice, creamy looking moon, and it was very close. And it, you know, we just kept commenting on how beautiful that moon was. Well, when they came back, they were talking about the moon being an orangey color. Like orange red type color, and we're like, that's not what we saw on the moon.
And we know for a fact too, because Martin Groves was there with us, and he's the one that said, look at how beautiful that moon is. And there was nothing red or orange about it. It was a normal white moon. That was weird.
Yeah, and they said that there was animals out in the road, playing in the road. They even stopped and took a video. There was a beaver that was out in the road playing. For no apparent reason. Deer were running across the road. There were snakes everywhere.
They made the comment, and this was at night, and he said that you know, he probably passed 30 snakes in the middle of the road. You know, what was going on there to make the snakes go in the middle of the road?
Wow.
I don't know. It was a very strange night.
That dog man road you call?
This is a different
Oh.
area. So the Dogman Road is actually in Missouri. This is Land Between the Lakes, where
Oh,
we're
okay.
now.
Which is in Tennessee, and it's Tennessee and Kentucky border there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this was actually on the Kentucky side, I believe.
Okay.
It's about the Land Between the Lakes is it's called the Trace, and it's about a 20-mile long road, and I don't remember how many acres it is, but it's
a bunch, yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally, you know, it's you have a couple lakes there, and you got kind of like an inlet, and that's why they call it Land Between the Lakes.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like you know, if you like crystals and know the meaning and believe in vibration and frequencies, and you know that everything on earth has its own frequency, blah blah blah. Well, there's a place out there called Hematite Lake, and hematite is all over the Land Between the Lakes, which is, you know, where they brought in the ore companies. You know, they were mining that ore out of there, which again, you know, they had the furnaces there where that was, you know, melting out the ore and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you what, there's so much history just in that one area that it's really crazy. And they still have some of there's a house out there that has survived, you know, for this long. They keep it up out there. There's a little church out in the middle of nowhere that you're like, why is there a church out here? There's not even anybody living here, you know, and you're talking about a road to get to it that you may get two cars side by side on it, but it's going to be tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense for it to be out there, but it's well taken care of. It's been newly painted. The grass out there has been mowed. They have a little cemetery there. It's crazy. It's a crazy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a cemetery out there too that they say a dogman has come out of the grave. I've never seen anything, and I don't know anybody. It's rumor, but just kind of cool, you know.
Yeah. The folklore, I think, that surrounds the place too is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about if you hear a story or something, you get real intrigued with it. You want to learn the history.
Yep.
What happened before that, or why did they come up with that? And like town, well, it's not really a town. It's just a little sliver of an area. And it's called Roscoe Village. And it I think it was 1914, something like that, 12 or something like that. Big flood came, and it was like 18 feet over the top of the roof. That's how bad the flood was.
Wow.
And most of the town perished in that. And they didn't do anything with that town until 1968, when they started bringing it back. And then just here, probably when we are early, probably 1990 is when they started opening up for tourists. And they still have some of the old buildings and everything, and they a lot of the history of the buildings. And now they, you know, they want people to come in and stuff, so they set up little, I don't know, chicken wire people. It's supposed to be ghosts and stuff around for Halloween and stuff, because there's a lot of stories of people seeing ghosts walking the streets. And there's this one lady that everybody sees in a big white dress. She had, you know, got her neck sliced and tossed into a well.
Oh, wow.
And the guy who was staying at the motel where she was at got blamed for it, and they hung him at the tree in the backyard, and found out he wasn't the one that did it.
Oh,
Well, those two have been seen all over the place. You can see until they got rid of the tree, or Mother Nature got rid of it, whatever the case may be. But he was seen swinging back and forth on that tree trying to get down,
Wow.
and
Well,
all
That
kinds
was-
of
from what you're saying, they didn't even need to put fake ghosts up. It sounds like they got a spirit problem.
yeah.
It just doesn't sound like they need any help.
Yeah, the first time I drove down there, I was like, and then wait a minute, that doesn't look right.
Right.
It's from a distance, it looks like there's a ghost sitting there because you can see through the chicken wire.
Right.
They form it into a lady with a dress and everything, and like, whoa.
Sounds like a place that we'd like to visit.
That's right. Sounds like a place for me. I'll go.
Yeah. The only issue is like trying to record or anything because the freeway goes
Gotcha.
right next to it, so
Yeah.
it's noisy all the time.
Mhm.
But it's they have the old buildings and stuff still there.
Mhm.
Old blacksmith, which is weird because it's all wood and it survived. That was one of the only wood structures that survived.
Very cool.
Wow. Wow, that sounds like an awesome place. But you're right. I mean, when it has a lot of traffic, you can't, the noise, you can't record anything because of the noise. And
Yeah.
second of all, with the headlights and the tail lights and that could mess up your evidence. And yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Only way is you'd have to record seeing something.
Mhm.
And then today it's so hard to prove things because there's so many people that ruin it for everybody else,
Right.
making, things up and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. We've talked about it many, many times on the Blondes and Booze show about things that were hoaxed, things like that. Or it could be pareidolia where people want to see something so bad that they'll see a picture and they'll pick out anything out of that picture and say, oh, that's a Bigfoot or that's a ghost or, or something like that. I mean, it happens all the time, all the time. So what I tell people is if you're taking a picture, take them in 3s or 5s, as many as you can get. If you think you see something, take as many as you can, because if it shows movement, that's just more evidence that,
Right.
that is credible, and then on video, stand steady. Don't try to chase it. Don't keep your camera swinging around. Stay focused, stay
hate
steady.
that.
Yeah.
Did you see
I
that?
mean,
Did you see that?
I'm like this.
No,
No,
I can't see anything.
no, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it.
And they slow it down and make it frame like a millisecond frame, and like there
Right.
it is. What?
Right.
Exactly. But I would think that the fun part of what Krista and I do is when people see us somewhere, like if we're at a conference or, whatever we're doing, some type of event, they will bring their own pictures to us.
Oh,
And
that's great.
sometimes we can explain to them, hey, this is what it could be. I wouldn't call it evidence because it can be debunked. It can be explained away. But then there are other times where I've seen pictures I'm like, well, you got something there.
Yeah.
You've
And we
got something.
won't we'll be honest with you. We won't BS you and tell you that you have something if we don't think you do. We will be honest with you and be like, this is our opinion. Not saying that's what it is because we're no expert. However, this is just what we feel like it might be.
Yeah, it could possibly be recreated.
And the funny thing is too, even like I can think of one picture off the top of my head. Even Brandy and I didn't agree on what it was.
Right.
So it's just like I said, it's opinions.
It's opinions. I mean, but I did get a picture where Krista's like, that's a 1 in a million picture you got there.
Yep.
But then she'll turn around and say, yeah, I don't know about that one. So, I mean, there is, we do bounce all this stuff off of each other and other people. We get this stuff, authenticated. So everybody knows that these pictures that we're presenting have not been messed with.
Right.
That have not been, tampered with at all. Just so when we put our evidence out there, hey, believe it or don't believe it, but this is the real deal. This is what I've got. You make your own decision. You can have your own opinion. I'm not here to make you believe. I'm just showing you what I see.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever Because I would go into a home or something. This is when it was popular thing with the ghost hunting stuff.
Mhm.
And I'd go in there and we do investigate and then wouldn't find anything. And then they'd say, well, we heard this. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, it would start making a noise. And we would wait there 3 o'clock in the morning and find out it was their dehumidifier in the basement making noises.
Yes.
And we're trying to tell them it's the dehumidifier that's going off at that certain time. Oh no, it can't be. This is something paranormal, and they just didn't want to. They wanted the paranormal stuff. They didn't want the actual truth.
Yep.
Well,
We've seen that too.
Yeah, and yes, and I get that. But we've also had people want to see something so bad that we think that they've personally manifested ghosts and things that are not supposed to be where they are. It's kind of like, I don't want to say this word, but it's like they conjured up their own ghost is kind of what happened. It's like they opened themselves up. It's like they've done all this stuff to bring the ghost there because they wanted to see one so bad. And well, you're going to bite off more than you can chew if you do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Sometimes you get the wrong thing coming in your house.
I actually did a demonic case from something that was like that. A man, his sons had passed away and he grieved. He just wanted to see his son. So he started doing EVPs in his own home and he brought in the demonic. That's a true story.
Yeah. You got to be careful because there's evil stuff out there that
absolutely,
even if you do it somewhere else, that stuff will still follow you home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I know all too well. I know all too well. And we'd have to do another show to talk about that. Krista and I would have to tell you all about that problem because it is an ongoing issue. So, this thing likes to travel. It honestly does because everywhere I go, it goes.
Yep.
And everywhere Krista and I go, it goes. And everyone who's around us has problems the whole entire time. But Krista and I do not.
Nope.
And then as soon as I get home, my problems start again. So it's kind of funny, but that's just another whole hour show.
Yeah, but that's a true story. It does like to follow us, and it's pretty.
And we're getting ready to go to Lone Star Paracon, in Church, Texas in 2 weeks. And I'm like, here we go again. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about out of time, but do you have anything coming up? Any important lives or anything like that you're getting ready to do?
We have, as Brandy said, we'll be in Church, Texas for the Lone Star Paracon. And we'll be doing some lives. We're also meeting up with our friend Will Lunsford, and we get to go to, he's taking us back down to Fouke, Arkansas. We're like Boggy Creek Monster. And so I'm sure we'll be doing some lives from there. And, subscribe to us. We definitely appreciate it. And our paranormal team, we have locations too, and we do have tickets for sale, and it's Haunted Souls Paranormal if anybody's in the Missouri area, and we've got some incredible locations too. And Brandy,
brand new locations.
Exactly. And Brandy and I both, or sometimes just one of us, but we're usually at those events. So
cool.
People come and say hi to us.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about for a couple more minutes?
Sure, we can. So we do shows, as Brandy had told you backstage. I think between the two of us, there's 11 shows we do a week. I do 5, she does 6. And like when we get off of here, Brandy has to hop over to Texas Front Porch. So you guys go like and subscribe to him. And also Bigfoot Michigan Rob was in chat. Please go and like and subscribe to him too, because I co-host with him on Tuesday nights. Like I said, Brandy is with Tex on Monday nights. And then on Saturday nights, Brandy and I both, along with Monica Rollins, we co-host with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, his late shows. So yeah, we stay busy. And then we do our own shows too. So
yes.
Okay. Do you have like all those links and stuff posted on your?
Probably so. I can always send it too. But and then on let's see. Saturday nights, I also do Paranormal Among Us with Paranormal Paul. So,
Yeah.
You guys are good.
You know, we do all kinds of different shows. I mean, we present 3 shows on Blondes and Booze alone. We do Wednesday night is with me and a few of the guys from our podcast group. It's called the Paranormal Show and Tell, which, you know, that gets a little funny. That's just, you know, that has fun. And then Chris and I, of course, are on Thursdays and Fridays. And I mean, it's just every day of the week that our podcast group has something. So just go on over to Blondes and Booze, check out a show. You know, go down to see who we have down listed as our recommended channels. They're all there. We have a bunch of people.
Yeah, we do. And, you know, like I said, Thursday nights is our guest shows. We've had everybody from just people who have had encounters to, like, you know, the big paranormal TV stars. You know, we do a little bit of everybody. So, you know, just come over and check us out. We'd appreciate it.
Right.
You can find their link. It's probably popped up a couple times, but it's on top of the chat and also down in the description. So head on over there and check them out.
Appreciate it.
And I want to thank you ladies for coming up here tonight, and you're welcome back anytime. And
Sam, we'll have to get you on our show. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. And,
yeah, because I'd like to hear more about that cemetery that you visited. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And then that little, I would say that ghost town. I'd like to hear a little more about that for sure.
Yeah, the only way you can get up there is a good four-wheel drive, not the city 4-wheel drives, but a good 4-wheel drive.
Right here.
We understand that. We understand that.
Yeah. And there's only certain times you can go too. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, ladies, and everybody. We'll check you out on our next live. And thanks again.
Yep. See y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah. Thank you. You too.